My biggest thought with this is my how the tables have turned. I recall so vividly Robbie Gould talking like San Francisco was just another blip on his career map. I recall so vividly this man saying how much he missed Chicago and wanted to go home, and he wanted to go somewhere where he felt wanted and needed. And now all of a sudden, he's sitting at home. You're probably practicing and kicking and staying loose at your local high school field, and you want to come back to San Francisco. I wish they made an offer. I wanted to go back. No. You held us hostage. You got what you wanted. See you later, alligator. I don't want to hear anything about it now. Too little, too late. You can't cry over spilled milk. And there's something about putting toothpaste back in the tube. I don't know how that works, but I don't even know if that applies. But no, sorry, Robbie, absolutely not. Like, and you guys have to remember how much crap Robbie Gould was giving the Niners during his, and he was franchise tagged. He was still paid like a top 3 kicker with the franchise tag and was still bitching about it. Like, no, man, not cool.
Matt, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with Mike that Robbie Gould kind of made his own bed and he has to lie in it to a certain extent. I really think this boils down to a numbers game. I think that him always opining to go back to Chicago is one of the reasons why nobody's going to feel bad for him in this situation. Fact of the matter is that if you look at Robbie Gould's salary, he made $5.5 million last year. They draft a kicker in the 3rd round and Jake Moody. That's higher than his entire rookie contract total. Jake Moody is going to make $964,000 this year. And when you got guys like Brandon Ayuk coming up for a deal, Nick Bosa coming up for a deal, all these guys, you trim the fat where you can get it. If he ends up playing, Jake Moody, that is, like the position they drafted him in, then the production per cost is in the 49ers' favor exponentially. Robbie Gould doesn't do kickoffs, at least not well, no touchbacks, nothing like that, right? And the one time I did remember seeing him on a kickoff, he got absolutely annihilated trying to make a tackle and looked like he hurt himself. He's 40 years old. He's not going to get any better. He's on the downside of his career. The 49ers get a guy under team control for 4 years at less than $5.4 million total. I think it's 5.3 and change. And the fact of the matter is that Moody's going to be 24 years old. He's a guy that the 49ers can grow around. All he has to do is perform up to expectations. And it's kind of a situation of so long and goodbye to Robbie Gould because they have other areas of need in terms of dollars that they can use that money towards. So I agree with Mike that he kind of talked shit about wanting to go somewhere else, didn't really appreciate the situation. And it's a situation of you don't know what you have until it's gone.
I distinctly remember the press conference, if I remember correctly, after Robbie Gould was franchise tagged. And pardon my French, but he was being a complete dick. Like the guy was being a complete prick to the reporters. And they were asking genuine questions. What is it about the 49ers? Did you not want to be here? And he basically like, look, I'm here, aren't I? I'm here, right? So let's just move on. I don't even want to talk about it. And it was like, all right, it's like you didn't want to be here, then you could have gone elsewhere. I mean, obviously not when he was franchised, but just like Matt said, how the tables have turned now that the 49ers are like, okay, go ahead and try testing for agency. One of the comments said, Ian Sharp, 40-year-old kicker market. Yeah, it's not that hot. It's not that hot.
Zach, just, like you're pointing out, he was a dick to reporters. He might just be a dick overall. I mean, how many times have we seen, and, when we go to games and stuff, we see him purposefully going down to the opposing team's side and kicking field goals while they're warming up. Now, for us as like 49ers fans, that's all tongue-in-cheek, all fine and whatever, but it is the sign of somebody who's just kind of got the red ass anyway. And he's like that. It seems like he's like that all the time. So between aging, making too much money, because if they signed him, it's not like he's going to take a big pay cut, right? And then between his attitude, I mean, the one thing I will say for him is at least he was very complimentary of Kyle Shanahan. In that same interview, he said that he was hands down the best coach in the league. But, you kind of worked yourself out of the market just by your attitude, by your dollar amount and your age. The last two, he can't really, the last one, he can't do anything about his age, but he can control his attitude and he can control, whether or not he gives the team a discount when he's been such a big part of what's going on. And if you wanted to stay, you could have made that known to the 49ers instead of waiting on them, just being like, hey, before the draft, hey, I'll come back, guys. I'll even take less because I know I'm getting up there and you guys got, stuff to re-sign. I think we will win a championship. I think the writing's on the wall. He's not about that championship. He's about Robbie Gould.
I just wanted to chime in really quick, right? It's all tongue in cheek. It's a lot of fun, to sit here and blast the guy and everything. But there's two things Matt pointed out that I think are really, really important. The 40-year-old market and getting up there in age and not being able to do kickoffs. It's a very limited market for Robbie Gould, despite the age, but just based off of his ability. So if I'm being 100% honest, I understand not wanting to play on the franchise tag. Give me one more long-term deal because I'm probably going to be on one-year deals the rest of my career. So I do get it. I am sympathetic to that, right? I get it. And he'll land somewhere. There's going to be some injuries to kickers or something like that, or some kicker is going to underwhelm in preseason and make a team nervous. He'll get picked up somewhere. But to me, it's more about the attitude towards the 49ers when he was tagged. It's not about wanting to play and all that stuff. I can completely make excuses for that. But he was talking like he didn't want to be here. Once he was tagged, it was like he was a prisoner. He made it sound like we were holding him against his will. And the only way he was going to show up and kick, there was even talks about him holding out. The only way he was going to come in and show up and kick was if he got that extension. So, and then you come in and you start terrible. They say it was an injury and then the holders and all that stuff. But you look at the first year he had that last deal after the franchise tag, I think it was in the 70s, his kick percentage. And it was not good. He was injured. He missed games and all. No, I was like, oh my God. But then he did rebound. He did have a good last 2 years. So, he'll land somewhere. There's a value for him somewhere.
Also, I just want to add the benefit of having a quarterback on a rookie wage scale only extends so far. And in the 49ers case, luckily they have two. Obviously, they have veteran Sam Darnold, which kind of sounds crazy to say he's a veteran, but especially compared to Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, he is. But that only extends so far. Like Matt said, I believe Mike mentioned it too. You got to extend Bosa, Brandon Ayuk's contract on the table. And it would be extremely short-sighted for the 49ers to say, let's go ahead and give Gould the contract he wants to end his career here. And then we're left holding the bag like, okay, what do we do now? Instead, yes, they traded like a 7th round conditional pick for Zane Gonzalez and then draft one of the, best college kickers coming out in the last few years and Jake Moody. And that sets them up for, current and long-term. And there's no contract disputes. Everybody's happy. Everyone's fine. Everybody understands what the situation is moving forward. And it allows them to go ahead and, hopefully get these deals done with these star players. So that's my thoughts on the whole Robbie Gould situation.
Yeah. And one thing that we're overlooking too is, we talk about the kickoffs and the lack of touchbacks, but I mean, how many times did we watch last year Kyle Shanahan punt from the 38 because he had no confidence that Robbie Gould was going to be able to make a field goal from that far? And Gould's leg is not going to get stronger with age. It's going to diminish, just like everybody's leg diminishes with age. It happened to the best. It happened to Adam Vinatieri. It happened to Steven Gostkowski. It happens to them all, right? And he's just going to get worse. Now you got a fresh young kid coming in with a big leg that's going to maybe now he'll kick field goals from the 38 rather than, those short pooch punts for Wisnowski that he ends up booting out at like the 13. You know what I mean? Like, it's just there. It's not just one big thing with Robbie Gould. It's an addition and an amalgamation of many different factors that played the 49ers hands into, hey, we're not going to offer this guy a contract. Like, thank you for your service, but at this time, we're going to go in a different direction. And from the 49ers aspect, it's no hard feelings. I don't think it's super hard feelings from Robbie Gould either at this point. I think somebody asked him a question. He's just lamenting the fact that he probably understands that, again, barring what Mike said, somebody underperforming, somebody getting hurt or whatever, his days as a long-term contracted kicker are over. He's going to get the 1-year shot here and there. He's going to be brought in training camp to compete with a guy that's on a shaky leg, so to speak. But that's about it. There's going to come a point where Robbie Gould is just, he's going to have a game. He's going to kick whatever. And then for whatever reason, he's going to disappear. We're never going to hear from him again. Unfortunately, with kickers and punters, that seems to happen a lot where they don't, no official retirement announcement. They're just gone. So I would expect much the same out of Robbie Gould. And I appreciate the fact that he was here for so long and that he didn't miss in the playoffs and he was clutch, good as gold, as we always talk about, but time to move on. And the 49ers have done just that.
We got a super chat here from our guy, Sean. He says, never trust a guy or family line that can't spell gold right. Anyway, so tired of all these haters saying Brock is the same as Jimmy. Nope. We took the garbage out. Be blessed, fam. All right. This is actually going to be a discussion of a little bit of the show later, what to expect from the quarterback. I've seen a lot of discussion this past week of did Brock Purdy play
real quick. I gotta correct this guy. Gold is like a baptismal name, and it means the son of gold. So like it's a biblical name. Just so you know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we've seen a lot of talk in this last week about did Brock Purdy play at a similar level to Patrick Mahomes come this past season, which is just a crazy premise, but we're going to get into it. We're going to break it all down. 49ers fans can never be level-headed, at least for the most part, when we're discussing quarterback play. And let's talk about what it would actually take from under center to get this team to that Lombardi trophy, hoisting that Lombardi come February. But is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss with this Robbie Gould situation? Nope. Okay. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Just like 49ers Throwback says, when you get older, you decline. And look, how many kickers are there out there, 40 plus, that are getting multi-year contracts? Like, it's just not happening. The one position that you can kind of plug and play, aside from running back, for the most part, is kicker. As long as you got a solid kicker, you can get them. I mean, for half the season, a third of the season, one game. Just look at what the Cowboys did last year. So we'll see what we could do. But the 49ers now, it is clear they have moved on. Jake Moody, Zane Gonzalez. Let's see. Yeah, Kurt Sampson, $4 million in savings. That's important. We're going to have this conversation next year with about 4 to 5 guys. Yeah, exactly. Ian Sharp quarterback talk has been wild. All right, I'm going to ask you guys this, and whoever wants to answer first, feel free. But what, in a rough estimation, would a season look like for the 49ers to get to the Super Bowl and let's just say win it, right? Let's say do we need 4,000 plus passing yards, 2.5 touchdown to interception ratio? Are you guys able to like put your mind on what a specific, group of numbers would look like for the 49ers to be that successful?
Yeah, I don't think 4,000 yards is out of the realm of possibility. 2.5 touchdown interception ratio to me is not good enough. We need at least 3 to 1. It has to be 3 to 1. There's been too many years where the turnovers. And by the way, Brock Purdy had I believe it was a 5 point. It was like 5 something because he had 16 touchdowns and 3 picks. So something close to that would be good. You just got to up the touchdown numbers. Continue to play within the offense. You don't need a guy to do, again, like a Patrick Mahomes and throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in a season. We don't need that. And, people being crazy online notwithstanding, that's not something I think Brock Purdy's capable of. That's not something that I think that even Trey Lance at his full potential is necessarily capable of. People talk about a lot of these quarterbacks, and it kind of annoys me that you talk about a Patrick Mahomes and you talk about some of these other guys and compare them to people as if Patrick Mahomes isn't a generational talent. That's going to be very, very hard to see somebody like that come again. So to me, it's, that's an overblown and just a very hyperbolic thing that we do is compare. This guy's the next Josh Allen. This guy's the next this guy. This guy's the next that guy. Let them be who they are. The 49ers need Brock Purdy to play very similar to what he did last year with just the standard year-over-year improvement that you'd like to see out of a young guy, right? He knows what the NFL is now. He knows the speed of the game. Things should process a little better. He should be a little faster. I'd like to see his pocket presence increase a little bit more. He can't throw the ball, but guess what? None of us know, right? We sit here and go, oh, he can't throw the football. You know what he can do with his arm straddled right next to him? Work on his footwork, work on his reads, work on knowing the offense better, knowing everything else better. And by all accounts, he's been in the building trying to do those things. So if you get a marginal improvement out of what Brock Purdy did last year, if he's the starter, or you get the significant improvement that teammates are saying they see in Trey Lance this offseason, then the 49ers have a great shot with the talent that they have to get to a Super Bowl. We just can't have to me, the biggest thing, we can't have the quarterback carousel. We cannot have 2, 3, 4 starting quarterbacks. We can't get to week 6 and it's like, this guy's out for 8 weeks. We need this other guy to come in. Okay, now this guy's out for 8 weeks, but the other guy just came back, maybe not quite ready, but we're going to throw him out there anyway. The inconsistency at the position has to stop. When we find a starter, the key to the 49ers getting to the Super Bowl is that quarterback starting 17 games, whoever that may be, and staying healthy. That's the only way they're going to get it done. You could have a guy on pace for doesn't mean shit if you're not playing. Excuse my language, but it's important that the 49ers stay healthy, protect the quarterback, and keep him upright. Whoever it is, that way the 49ers can rely on that one guy to lead them through the season, and there's consistency at the position, which is just going to help everybody else.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right, so I like that breakdown from Matt. I'm thinking this, right? I think the 49ers have to come out and be really well balanced. What I would like to see from the Niners this year, regardless of who the quarterback is about 4,200 yards at the end of the year, passing, right? Give me that ratio. It's just under 250 yards a game. And I'm going to tell you guys why that number is important to me. If we are just coming in around 4,000 yards, just under the 4,000 yards mark, it's going to tell me that we are desperately still relying on the run game. I would like for the Niners to be in a position where if a team has a bad secondary, we can attack that secondary. If a team is really bad against the run, then we can have those games where we just dominate the run game, 187 yards passing, you know what I mean? 250, 300 plus on the ground. Those are the kind of games I want to see. I can't tell you guys how many times we've seen this team go up against. Remember when Seattle had a streak of allowing like 200 rushing yards? It was like 3-4 games in a row, and then we went out there and got 98 or some shit. Like I would love for us to be able to, whatever that team's weakness is, let's attack it. And if for some reason they wake up this week, we can still flip the switch. The way you do that is be balanced. You have to average about 250 yards a game, just under that. 250 passing yards a game. Be super efficient in the run. You want to be about 130 rushing yards per game. And as far as the scoring goes, we talked about, what this season is going to look like and how it should go, right? I think there's another reason why the team wanted to move on from Robbie Gould. Less field goals, more touchdowns, right? Just give me another 1.5 per game. It sounds like that's not a lot, Mike, but it's going to break down in the long run, right? If the Niners can go out there and average 30 points a game, we'll be really, really good on offense. That means that you're going to have a game or two where you're closer to 50. You're going to have some of those low games where you got 10 to 17 points in there, but come out every single week, 4 touchdowns, field goal or 2, and you'll be just fine. You'll be absolutely fine. We're not going to have to depend on the kicks. We don't have to get out there and be one of those teams where every single possession we have to score. No more toe-to-toe stuff. I want the team to go out there and be dominant, be consistent, and be able to catch people off guard, take away their strength, or take away or amplify whatever their weakness is. Make them really say, damn, we can't stop the run. We got Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell coming in here right now. This is going to be a nightmare. This run game that Kyle Shanahan's bringing here is going to absolutely embarrass us, guys. It's going to absolutely embarrass us. I'm watching this quarterback on Netflix. I've watched some Hard Knocks and things like that. You hear the mic'd up segments and all that stuff. And a lot of times you'll hear defensive coordinators say, and this is when you know you got them. Listen, they're going to get theirs. Let's just try to minimize the damage. I want teams to say that about the 49ers every single week. They're going to get theirs. Let's just try to minimize the damage. That's how we should be. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know if we want to talk about the defense or not, but I wanted to focus on the offensive side of the ball. Oh, and the last thing, too. I don't think I'm cool, guys. It is nighttime out here. It's almost 11 o'clock, but I am sitting right next to this light on the side of the hotel that, amplifies, where I am. It's on the side of the building, and the bugs are like crazy over here. I don't want them to hit me in my face because I will scream and streak on camera like a biatch if I don't have these glasses on. If they hit me in my face and I got the glasses on, it won't be as bad, but otherwise I'll be okay. I'll be all right. So that's why I have the glasses on at nighttime, and that's why I'm also smoking the cigar and blowing the smoke that way, trying to drive them away, trying to frustrate the bugs with the smoke. All right, so not cool, Mike. I like wearing the glasses in the house because the lights are really bright and everything, but this is different. This is different.
You got a comment here from Sid. Did you get your stuff?
Did I get my stuff? No, not yet. I did not go down. That's why I'm not on the laptop. I'm on my tablet right now. I left all of my electronics in South Carolina, so all the shows that I'm doing now are on my tablet or on my phone. So it's going to be a rough couple of weeks. I plan on going down next weekend, though.
Damn. All right. We had a couple of super chats come in for our guy Sean talking about, I know what gold is. I'm a pastor. Without looking it up, what does the word Christmas mean? And
Yeah,
then
but wait, hold up. He's the one that shit on him for not being able to spell gold properly. And I'm just telling you the etymology of the name. I don't care about the Bible stuff. I'm telling you
sure
the
he was just
etymology of a
joking.
man's name.
Yeah. It was tongue in cheek.
Thank you for your support, Sean. We appreciate it.
But no, I don't want to play Bible roulette. I'd rather just, yeah.
Let's play 49ers roulette.
I'd rather play, 49ers roulette.
So yeah, just I know Matt said in his answer, projecting and on pace for doesn't mean anything if the guy's not healthy. But let's just, for the sake of this exercise, do it with Brock Purdy's stats from last game. I took out the Kansas City game because he came in garbage time, didn't really count for much. But roughly from his 6 games, this is only in the regular season, not counting Seattle, Dallas, or the first drive or whatever the hell he played it for Philly. It would amount to about 3,700 yards and I believe roughly 37 touchdowns. So it's really good numbers. And I think if the 49ers were to get that, they'd be in a pretty good shape to win the Super Bowl, at least be a number 1 seed. Somebody asked him last time we had a 49ers quarterback top 4K.
I was going to say, that was hung fat. Yeah, it was Jeff Garcia in 2000, and we've only had 3 seasons over 4,000 yards. It was Jeff Garcia in 2000, Steve Young in 98, and then Steve Young in 1993. The only 3 4,000-yard season in 49ers history. At 3,700 yards, I think would be best for like 9th or 10th. That would be just below Jimmy Garoppolo's 2021 season. He had like 3,800 yards. My thing is, and sorry, Sean, if I didn't get the joke, it's been a long weekend for me. But my thing is that when I look at the quarterback position, I know everybody's caught up on yards and yada, yada, yada. For me, the 49ers are balanced when they don't have to have super high passing numbers. We don't need to be, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City when, the issue with Kansas City is they have a hard time running the ball consistently. And we all know that. They're usually never near the top of the rushing numbers. You look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, who had a great season last season, towards the top of the MVP race and everything like that. He only threw for 3,700 yards, right? If we're talking about 4,000-yard seasons, that would be good for 10th in the league. So it's a very select group that hits 4,000 yards. I want what Mike alluded to earlier, touchdowns and not field goals, right? 16 touchdowns extrapolated over the course of the season based on what Brock Purdy had was, I believe you said 32, Zach, was something like that, 30, 32.
37.
37. If you can get 37 touchdowns out of Brock Purdy, you're in a really, really good spot. And here's the other thing too, that there are so many explosive pieces on this offense. There's going to be games where Brock Purdy is not going to throw for a ton of yards because some guys just, whether it's Chris McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel is going to house call it, right? And the offense is going to get off the field quick because they're just going to score in chunks. So I don't know. I think that the big thing is scoring touchdowns. It might not show up in Brock Purdy's numbers per se, but if the offense touchdown percentage on scoring drives can be better than what it has been, then that's what I'm looking for.
So then my next question, and it's fitting, our guy Joey's in the chat. He says 49ers were like 3rd or 4th in pass EPA last year, but so besides the low yards, the pass game is very effective. It definitely was. By
the way, that reminds me of a quote. Somebody asked Sam Darnold why he signed with the 49ers, and he's like, because wide receivers are open. I mean, that's a good answer, man. Like if you're struggling with the Jets and you're struggling with Carolina and you can't find open guys, come to the offense that schemes a dude open on literally every play. Yeah. And that works for the other guys as well. I thought that was actually a pretty funny answer from Sam Darnold, but it just illustrates how effective the 49ers passing game can be if you have somebody competent under center. And that's why for all the Jimmy stands out there, I will always think that he underperformed the talent around him.
Yes.
So that's just me. I don't want to get into another Jimmy war.
I know you extrapolated the numbers to see what they were going to be over the season. Can you tell me what the Niners ended with as far as passing yards last year, like the team in general?
Yeah, 1 sec.
I'm only asking because I think that we had a pretty decent year with the pass game in particular. The run game picked up a little bit, but We were hit or miss with
3,856 yards, 30 touchdowns, 9 picks, 7.1 net yards per attempt.
Yeah, that's not bad.
What are you looking that up? Because ESPN has 4,000.
This is on Pro Football Reference.
Got it. I was gonna say it's probably more trustworthy than this.
Wait. That's a big discrepancy, though. That's a whole football game's worth of yards. Are you looking? Did one of them include postseason or the other one not, or something? Like, how does that work?
That's a good question. Let me see.
And passing yards.
It includes Josh Johnson and Christian McCaffrey. So I would assume that includes postseason. That's probably the difference there. I have the quote here.
I don't know if that's true though, because in the game against Seattle, Christian McCaffrey had, or not Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy had the game against Seahawks where he had almost 400 yards passing. So that would be way more than the discrepancy we're talking about. You said they had 4,000. How much?
4,049.
Yeah, see, that would have been accounted for just by that one game. No, I don't know. All I know is that ESPN might do it differently too. I think Pro Football Reference might take away passing yards.
Sacks. Sacks. That's what it is. It's sacks. Good call.
So I have the quote here, just share real quick from Sam Darnold. And he said, quote, guys are open. I mean, there's a lot of guys open on dang near every play. It just seems like there's a ton of answers. Great run game. I mean, whenever you can have a great run game as a quarterback, that's always a comforting feeling. I think with the certain weapons they have, Deebo, Ayuk, George, obviously Christian, Juice, Jawan Jennings, like there's so many guys. I can go on and on. So also he went on, they've been here for so long, and Kyle's able to understand kind of what everyone does well, what they don't do well. And I feel like every game plan he uses gets the most out of his guys. It's a very good feeling as a quarterback, knowing that the coach is going to put everyone in in the best position possible. So my question is, what does Brock Purdy's success say about the 49ers, Mike? And this is going to lead to my later question as far as what contract would be able to, we got a gigantic super chat from our guy, Sean. Thank you very much, Sean. He says, great show.
$150, brother.
Insane. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, man.
You're the best. Great show. May God increase your viewers, subscribers, and content relationships. Let him bring sponsorship as well. Be blessed in all you do in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you very much, Sean. You're fantastic.
Very much appreciated. You did not have to do that. That was
definitely
above
not.
And beyond. Thank you, man.
Thank you. So Brock Purdy, what does that say, Mike? I'll start with you. What does his success say? Is that more about Jimmy Garoppolo was lacking and Brock Purdy came in and basically anybody who's competent could do this, or Jimmy Garoppolo, was playing relatively well, and that just speaks to Brock Purdy's level of performance and his, readiness to enter the NFL and play at a relatively high level? What do you think it says more to?
We're specifically talking about Brock Purdy's success last year, right?
Yes, sir.
Not the 49ers. Okay. All right. I think Brock Purdy was the perfect piece to come in. I won't say the perfect piece. Let me rephrase that. Brock Purdy came into the perfect situation. That's what it is. A very well-balanced team. A guy with all the pressure and no pressure at the same exact time. Literally Mr. Irrelevant. You have a jersey hanging in your home that says that, right? No pressure at all. And when there's no pressure and no expectations, when there's a lot of pressures but no expectations, the one thing you do is, all right, well, if I don't know, let me just be safe. And I think the 49ers team was so good that even checkdowns were explosive plays. I think that this 49ers team was so good that you are allowed to grow and develop confidence in game. You don't have to have that confidence necessarily on display in practice during the week. It's something that, Kyle Shanahan, we've seen the things like, all right, he pulls the referee to the sideline and says, hey, he's holding my guy. Watch this play. He's going to hold him. And then he gets the flag, right? Kyle is so good at manipulating defenses. It has to instill a level of confidence in the quarterbacks. And I really think Brian Griese instilled something in all those quarterbacks in that quarterback room, and it was, hey, trust the play. If it doesn't work out, we won't blame you. And so because of that, Brock Purdy has had so much playing experience. He knows when a system is good. He knows when an offensive play caller is on a hot streak. He knows when wide receivers are just good enough to beat whatever. And he's confident enough to hit the wide open guy to pull the trigger across the middle. So I think he just came into the perfect storm. I don't want to diminish anything that he did because there are guys that are nervous. There are guys that overthink. Sam Darnold is one of those overthinkers. You know, people are actually saying that if Sam Darnold can get the game to slow down for him, he would be better. And they're hoping that Kyle can bring that out of him. But, you know, it's about being confident in what the play call is and trusting the other 10 around you. I think Brock Purdy came in and literally did that. He didn't come in here and say, I have to be the man. You are not going to be the man on the team with George Kittle. You are not going to be the man on a team with Trent Williams. You are not going to be the man on a team with Christian McCaffrey. You can be a man. You can be one of the guys. And when you have a team that's as stacked as the 49ers, everybody is a guy. Everybody is a guy. You don't have to be the guy. And it took all the pressure. Right? It's pressure to succeed, right? So I don't want to say that he didn't have any pressure, but it took all of the stress of playing football off of him. And you heard Niners in multiple interviews. We're just out here having fun. We're out here having fun. Winning is fun. Being successful is fun. And I think it was just the perfect storm for him. I don't think Brock Purdy would have. What the freak is that? I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to stop talking now. Oh, my God. I want to show you guys this bug so bad. I want to flip my camera around so you guys can see this. This is the big. Don't come over here. All right, I'm going on mute.
All right. He's got a big old bug. He's gonna turn around the camera. Yeah, turn around the camera. Let's see the bug. I mean, we're in it now. We're invested. Did we lose him? Oh, there he goes. That just looked like a dragonfly to me. I don't know. It's a bug. Just to piggyback off of what Mike's saying, I think a cigar cutter. That's fine. It's fine. You'll be all right. Where are we at? I think one of the things that people forget about Brock Purdy, and I know that Mike talked about, pressure with no expectations, but I think that, and Kyle Shanahan being a genius, which he is, but I think that's taking a little bit too much away from Brock Purdy. I think that Brock Purdy deserves a little credit for what he did. The fact of the matter is that they went from, and I've seen the comparison, right? Like, oh, Brock Purdy's so good, then why do you hate on Jimmy? Because Jimmy did X, Y, Z. Well, Jimmy's like an 8 or 9 year pro, and you got Mr. Irrelevant coming in and matching and in certain areas exceeding the production of an 8 or 9 year pro, a guy that took the 49ers to a Super Bowl, a guy that was drafted in the second round by Bill Belichick and was back up to Tom Brady and was the NFL's next big golden boy and whatever. And, Brock Purdy's not getting enough credit. He was Mr. Irrelevant, but I think because he was Mr. Irrelevant, because he was able to put up these numbers, that you have to also acknowledge that something was missed with Brock Purdy, and everybody missed it, and for as much as I would love to give the 49ers credit, they essentially missed it too. I mean, they just took him because it's the last pick of the draft, and it's kind of like a cover your eyes and throw the dart at the dartboard kind of situation, right? Let's bring in a camp arm, see what he's got. They ended up liking him enough to get rid of Nate Sudfeld last year in camp, but they never expected him to play. I mean, he was third string for a reason. So the fact that he could come in, and it's one of those things where his best asset, because he doesn't have a mega plus arm. He's not fast. He's not big, right? But he's competitive, and there's some type of mental toughness. They always talk about the intangibles. This guy has it. There's something about Brock Purdy where there's that little extra sparkle, right? He's playing over what just the eye test would tell you he would be capable of. He makes plays that you're just like, I don't understand why he would do that, and I don't understand why it works, but for some reason it does. I think he deserves a little bit of the credit.
Can I just rebuttal? Like, can I give a little? I
Sure.
don't think 32 teams missed it, right? Brock Purdy wouldn't look the same if he went to the Panthers. He wouldn't have looked the same if he went to Washington. I really think that people underestimate the value of a system when a quarterback gets there.
I'm not listen, I'm not trying to take away. I'm not trying to say that it's all Brock Purdy. I'm just saying that 32 teams did miss something. It's the same reason why you get a guy in the first round like a Ryan Leaf get drafted 2 overall who has all the physical tools in the world, but he's got, shit for brains, for lack of a better term. They only get X amount of time to spend with these kids before they have to make a decision. So 95% of their evaluation is going to be between what they see on tape and what they see in front of them. And the fact of the matter is, you don't know how a guy's going to compete until you get him in the building. And so all these other teams knocked Brock Purdy down because he's barely 6 foot, depending on what 7-Eleven he walks into. He's barely 200 pounds. He's not going to be that gunslinger that you want, right? He, at times when he scrambles out, and even I see it, it looks like he's just running for his life. And it's not, it doesn't look organized. It doesn't look productive. And it's just something that he does. But there's something between his ears that has allowed him to match the production of an 8-year pro. Some of that is going to be the system. However, you can sit a system in front of a player, and that doesn't mean they're going to be able to execute the system necessarily. Brock Purdy does a good job with the talent that he has and has enough mental acuity and feel for the game that he can run the system honestly, like a seasoned veteran with the way that he was playing, that a lot of other people wouldn't have been able. Like, if you ask Kenny Pickett to run that offense, even though Kenny Pickett was drafted high, Kenny Pickett would not be able to run that offense. I just don't see the same level of talent between the ears. I don't. And what the same goes for a lot of the guys that were drafted in the same draft class. I don't think they run that offense, but there was something that teams missed with Brock Purdy that can't be accounted for necessarily on film or on the measurables, that once they got him in the building, they were like, oh, he's eating this stuff up. Oh, he's actually a competitor. Oh, he's actually out there, maybe somebody in practice knocks him on his ass and he gets up and he's like fired up and ready to go. There's something there that nobody else saw. And that's the only reason why those guys get down to Mr. Irrelevant. I guarantee you, if they knew now or knew then what they know now, Brock Purdy would have been like a 3rd round guy.
It's his poise. That's what Brock Purdy does better than anybody I've seen so far. That's what it is. It's his poise. That is the perfect word for what it is.
And how do you measure that?
Right. That's why you get right. That's it. That's the word. That right there. Okay, I'm done. That's what it is. He is like, that's it. A+ poise. That's it.
I'm muted. Joey had sent this earlier in the chat before we got, I believe, a giant super chat, but let's pull it up again. This is from King Sports Talk on Twitter, and it is Brock Purdy stats. 52% of Brock Purdy's passes of 10+ air yards targeted receivers with 3+ yards of separation. Leaders on highest open target rate, 10+ is Brock Purdy, 52%, and then Tua, 42.9, and Mahomes, 37.6, and he adds Shanahan is a wizard. So this just speaks to what Shanahan's system is doing for Brock Purdy. But I think it's, both of you guys said it perfectly. It's the perfect marriage of the two, right? Because Shanahan didn't just suddenly start doing this when Brock Purdy went into the game. He had been doing this all season and for years with Jimmy there. And how many times did we see Deebo, Ayuk, Kittle, 30, 40 yards down the field, waving, begging Jimmy to hit him, and he just would not execute. And for some reason, Brock Purdy comes in, and I think you guys said it best, and he's not trying to soak up the limelight. Like, he's perfectly okay with everybody else being the star, and he's just playing point guard and distributing the ball. And from what I remember back after the Tampa game, when he had, the entire stadium chanting his name and everybody was amazed, he was basically a household name after that game, beating Tom Brady, the first rookie to do so in their first start. Fred Warner offered him to kind of break down the huddle since he was essentially a new leader. And he said, no, I'm all right. I'm just another guy. I don't want any part of that. I'm just like everybody else. Don't treat me any differently. And I think that's exactly what Brock Purdy is. And I said this in the chat earlier in the week when we were talking about what would be required of a quarterback for the 49ers to go all the way. Above average play and not to shrink in the big moments. And I don't think we saw Brock Purdy shrink at all. You could argue he didn't rise to the occasion to a specific level, but he definitely didn't go the other way and shrink. Whereas we definitely saw that, not trying to shit on Jimmy here, but definitely saw that with Jimmy a lot. So, and I think poise, heart, that's the exact perfect way.
I don't know that we didn't see him rise to the occasion. We were being outdueled in that Oakland Raiders game, or Las Vegas. I'm sorry. Like the defense was letting us down. We thought, who was Stidham? He's gonna. I think that's who the quarterback was for that game, right? We were like, this guy's not going to come in here and pose a threat. And you blink, and the Raiders are doing whatever they want to do. He did rise to the occasion. I don't think that there was a single moment that was too big for Brock Purdy to handle. He struggled in the Cowboys game, right? That was one of his, in my opinion, one of his worst games. I think that Washington game was a really bad game for him. And the first or second, I can't remember which one of the Seattle games it was. It was the first, right? And even in those games, there were moments where we have to get a first down. We have to score on this drive. And he did it every single time. He answered the bell. I don't know that there's a moment in the game where he didn't rise to the occasion, honestly. And that goes back to his poise. No moment was too big for him. Playoffs, none of it was too big for him.
So I agree with that. I never saw him in a game or a situation where it was like, oh, dang, this kid's lost. Yeah. Like, he doesn't know what's going on. He knew exactly what was going on. And it's one of the things that is hard to reconcile between Brock Purdy and somebody like Trey Lance, who I also root for. This comment's funny. At Iowa State, Brock Purdy's a 4-year starter. That type of experience leads to that level of poise. You're playing Division I college football in a Power 5 conference. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest guy, the best guy, or the worst guy, right? It's the same reason why I believe that ultimately Will Levis will be successful, because he came from a bad school, but he played in the SEC. Their trial by fire is something that is so important. And you look at Brock Purdy, where he looks like he's never lost. And then you look at like Trey Lance, who, I hate to say it, there were times where he did look lost. The first half against the Houston Texans, that game finished in a great way for him, but that first half was ugly. There were other times where he looked a little lost. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to rush Brock Purdy back if he's not ready to go. Trey Lance needs reps, right? It's the only way he's going to develop that poise. You can't develop poise studying the playbook, sitting on the sideline, working with a quarterback coach, working your feet. If you're not seeing, as they call, I hate the term because, ex-military, whatever, but if you're not out there seeing live bullets, how are you ever going to get that poise? So that's one area where I think that Brock Purdy holds a massive advantage right now, and it's the reason why he should be viewed as the leader in the clubhouse. He has that poise through years and years and years of preparation, not necessarily in the NFL, but playing the position. So when you're out there not thinking about the position you play because you've done it for so long at such a high level, that only leads to things being easier for you.
Yep. Really well said. I just want to add as well that based off of what you just said, it's hard for, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't want to speak for all of us, but I believe it's hard for the three of us to envision Trey Lance surpassing a healthy Brock Purdy just strictly off of what happens in the offseason and the preseason leading into week 1. The actual gameplay is needed, and the 49ers need to know 100% during a live game, meaningful game, that he will play just as good, if not better, than Brock Purdy. So it's going to be tough. But my next question for you guys is, say Brock Purdy is what we think he is, right? He's as good as we think he is. He answers the question. He lives up to the moment. He doesn't shrink in the big moments. And the 49ers in a couple of years are at a crossroads when they have to pay him. Is he worth what would essentially, at that time, this is what Joe was talking about earlier in the week, probably we're looking at like $40+ million a year, when it's time to pay Brock Purdy, do you pay that contract? And mind you, Trey Lance will be up a year before him. I mean, they'll probably pick up his player options. Maybe they'll be off at the same time. I don't know. But how do you go about that? Is it the system or go ahead, Matt? Oh, Matt's saying 1 second. Mike.
Yeah, I got you, man. So it's going to be this, right? It's going to come down to who the guy is. You kind of alluded to it before. There's not going to be much there's nothing that Trey Lance can do in preseason and in practice that's going to say, hey, you earned this job over what Brock did. And that's what Matt was talking about, the live bullets, right? We saw one guy do it. We believe a guy can do it. Which do you go with? The Niners just have to make a decision. And, I'm pretty sure it was on this show last time with you guys. Maybe not. Maybe I did do a solo show, so I'm not sure. But I was asked, what does a successful season look like for the 49ers? And my answer was probably one of the worst answers if you're looking for, win the Super Bowl or this many wins and all that stuff. I don't care about wins, losses. Declare your franchise QB. To me, that's what a successful season is going to be for the Niners, because we can't keep going with this back and forth nonsense. We got to pick a guy and we got to ride the wave with him. And I honestly, I don't care who it is. I have a preference, or I don't even know if I have a preference. My preference is to win, right? I want to see what Lance can do with the weapons. But if they decide that, Lance, you're not it, I'm okay with that. Let them make the decision and then stick with it. No more competition heading into the season, and we're gonna see who preseason is going to determine who. No, by the end of this season, a successful season, we have to know who it is. If it ends up being Brock Purdy, then you pay him. You don't hesitate either. If you have faith in him and he's the guy, then that's it. That also means that you don't need the biggest arm, you don't need the most athletic guy and all that stuff, and that's fine. We have seen teams do it. Tom Brady, Tony Romo, these guys weren't the most athletic players on the field, right? But they were good for very long times. Tom Brady now won a lot of rings along the way. Tony Romo didn't do much of anything, but good quarterbacks. You know what I mean? And those guys are very well poised. This guy's calling his friends over now. There's two of them. And I saw you guys saying, Mike, you're too big to be acting like that. This cutter is the size of my hand, and that thing was the size of this cutter. So screw you guys. That is a monster. All right? I can count his teeth.
All right, let me just go back. I want to pull up this comment right here from Daddy-O. People fail to understand that now defenses have had a full offseason to study Brock, so we'll see the Jimmy scenario all over again, play a handful of games and play well, and fans start lauding you. Shake my head. Listen, one of the things that happened to Jimmy Garoppolo is that he had an ACL injury, and then he had another injury, and then he had another injury. So the problem is you don't get any consistency to improve your skills in the offseason. Brock Purdy's coming off an injury, but I will tell you, you show me the NFL team that needs an entire offseason to adjust to Brock Purdy and study film to adjust to Brock Purdy, and I'll show you a team that's going to fire its entire coaching staff that year. It does not take that long for them to watch film and get tendencies down. As soon as Brock Purdy hit game 3-4, they would have had enough film on him to know exactly what he likes to do. And that's also discounting the fact that how many years has Kyle Shanahan been the coach of the 49ers? And guess what? Someone ass still open on every single play. Someone is still wide open, booty butt naked, wide open on a play. No one around him for 5 yards. So, I mean, I just disagree with that. In all areas, it could be that his play goes down, but that won't be other people adjusting. It'll be Brock Purdy failing to evolve and failing to grow, right? And then becoming stagnant. Or it'll be because he can't stay healthy. But in terms of, I agree with Mike, you declare a franchise guy, and if they decide that Trey Lance is not good enough, then so be it. If they decide that, that he is, then you play him. Either way, they do have to make a decision. So I think that in a lot of ways, the 49ers have to commit one way or another. They've been on the hot seat with this quarterback thing. I mean, to this day, there are still people that will swear up and down that Kirk Cousins is coming here next year because he's probably not going to be back in Minnesota. And there are people that will be like, why don't we just do it now? Why don't you just trade Trey Lance for Kirk Cousins straight up? The fact of the matter is, if the 49ers say, this guy is our guy, and actually commit to that, then all this other nonsense can go away, right? Again, the team has said it themselves. They weren't necessarily unhappy with the way that Jimmy Garoppolo played. They said they traded up to draft Trey Lance because Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't stay healthy. That was from the horse's mouth. That was from Kyle and John. They both had said, hey man, like we like Jimmy. It's just that, we need a position we need where they can stay healthy. And they've just been bitten by the injury bug at that position, probably worse than any team I've ever seen. I don't recall. I mean, in the last 5 years, how many season-ending quarterback injuries have they had? How many major quarterback injuries where you're talking multiple games missed? I don't recall ever seeing something like this. Again, you get to your fourth, fifth quarterback, right? You're so decimated on quarterbacks last year that when your starter goes out and then your backup goes out, you have to sling Brock Purdy back out there with a torn UCL in his elbow to finish out the game for you. I mean, that's kind of stuff never happens. So I think if Brock Purdy's a guy and they commit, or Trey Lance is a guy and they commit, whoever it is, they should get paid. Much like what Mike said.
Mike's struggling to unmute himself, I think.
He's worried about that bug. He's looking over his shoulder right now.
No. Forget that bug, man. No. Damn, I lost my thought. I was trying to get back to the screen. I saw a comment and I was trying to see it, but it's all right. Never mind. Don't worry about it, guys.
All right. All right. Last topic of the night. There's so many comments here. I'm sorry I can't get to all of them. Last topic of the night. Obviously, this Deebo Samuel situation. I saw a couple of you guys asking about it. Goes on a Philadelphia sports talk show, I believe, and is asked about his comments regarding if the 49ers had a healthy quarterback, they would have beaten the Eagles. Deebo promptly, or I don't even think he responds. Actually, I think his agent or his publicist, whoever it is, gets on and kind of says, you know what, that's it. We're good. Thank you very much. We got to go into, training camp now. Thank you very much. Hangs up the phone. It turns into this big old story about Deebo Samuel, hangs up on reporter after being asked about this. People are saying it's hypocritical because he had been talking about it for all offseason, and now when he gets asked about it, he runs from it. What's your guys' take on this? Because I think this is a bunch of BS, to be honest with you, but I'll let you guys go first, and I can share my if you want. If not, I can go first. I don't care.
You know what? Let's start out with you, Zach. We
right.
rarely get to hear you go first. I want to hear your piece on this.
So to me, he hasn't talked about this, if I remember correctly, since April-ish, March-ish. I mean, I think he said what he needed to say, and then he kind of stopped. And granted, maybe I'm talking about him just volunteering this information. He's been asked about it since, and maybe he said, yeah, if we had a quarterback, we would have won. Also, what the hell is he supposed to say? Now, I think if Brock is healthy, he probably still would have lost, but we would have given him a best. Of course, he's going to say they would have won. Any team say they're going to win. Look at the Eagles right now still saying if the grass was better, they would have won, even though both teams played on the same grass. And I think that as reporters and podcast hosts and interviewers, they use these types of moments to build themselves up and kind of make themselves put themselves in the spotlight. And I tweeted this out, and I know Mike disagreed with it, and I was being very hyperbolic, right? Because I'm like, a reporter could be like, so you're going through a pretty heated custody battle right now. There's allegations of abuse. What do you have to say to that? And then the player's like, you know what, I'm out. And the reporter's like, I triggered Deebo Samuel. Tune in tonight at 8 when yada, yada, yada. And it's like, clearly no player would want to answer these types of questions. And I think Deebo Samuel had just spoken about this enough and understood where it was going that he wanted nothing more to do with the conversation. Would I prefer he have just stayed there and said that? Probably. Yeah, it's not a great look to just walk out and have your agent do the dirty work. But that's my take on it. What do you guys think?
First off, did we shout out that second super chat from Sean?
I don't think we did, actually.
I want to shout that out. Another $20 from Sean. Been a fan since 77, 6 years old. Montana wasn't perfect, lots of struggles, but Joe could hit when it counted. He didn't play well in 88 Super Bowl, but was clutch on the final drive. Purdy has a clutch DNA and can play system. Dude, I love that John Candy story from that Super Bowl. That thing is so funny that he's just like, oh, look, there's John Candy, and he was just ready to go. Thank you again for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. I agree with you. I feel like Purdy has something intangible that we can't really, measure right now. Talking back to the topic at hand, Deebo Samuel. At some point or another, this is this new age thing where, honestly, and this is going to be a bit reductive in the comparison, but it's like when you get in a fight with your spouse and then 6 months later, she's just bringing up old shit. It's like, that was last year, bro. We're about to go into training camp for this year. Why do you think I give a shit at this point anymore? Right? Like, he's out there, he's working with, Saquon Barkley. He's out there working out. I saw a video of him today looking good boxing. And I got to say, Deebo Samuel actually boxing, he's pretty smooth. I see some athletes where it's just like really robotic and stuff, but he actually got a little sway to him. So he's got some boxing skill, but he's looking to be in shape. And if you want to know what he thinks about what happened last year, I think the proof is starting to show up in the pudding, where I've never seen him work this hard. And that to me speaks very, very well to his mentality going into this season. So I'm not surprised in an ultra competitive guy to be asked the same thing. And by the way, that wasn't just this one thing. This was like multiple questions that were essentially the same one rephrased. It's like, oh, you said back in February that if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt, the 49ers would have won by double digits. Like, why do you think that would have been like that? Or like, do you still believe that? What happens this year when you play the Eagles? Like, it's just the same thing over and over. This gotcha bullshit that people want to play with athletes. And there's this weird parasocial relationship that a lot of people who are media people think that they have with these athletes. We saw it, a little bit with other content creators who get into the weeds with some of the players. Mainly because of the way that they think. It's like, you think you know these guys. You think that you have some insight into their life, and you don't really know these guys. You're treating them as like,
colleagues.
Right. You think that you have some sense of entitlement and access to these people, and you're abusing that by not being respectful of their time, respectful of their mindset, and you're asking the same thing over and over just to get yourself a clip. And like you said, Zach, to sit there and be like, oh, I triggered this guy. Look at how upset he is. Why you mad, bro? Why you mad? It's that bullshit action that it makes the players not want to do this kind of stuff. It makes people who legitimately, maybe smaller, if we end up, for whatever reason, it was like we had the opportunity to maybe interview Deebo Samuel. Now maybe he's a little bit more hesitant to do it, because when he puts himself out there, it bites him. And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't think the exposure that I get on this channel is worth the potential blowback if something goes sideways. And they got to measure that out. And a lot of these guys don't even think about that. They're looking for their clicks. And instead of being good journalism and informative interviews and good interviews, that's why the people, like, one of the shows that I loved the most growing up was Sports Reporters. And then the other one was, gosh, I can't remember his name, Ben something or other, on ESPN. It's featured heavily in Jerry Maguire when Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character goes on the show and he's like, I told you I wasn't going to cry. That guy, right? Those old school, like, I'm going to ask you poignant questions and they're going to be really well thought out, right? It's the same thing. One of the best interview shows right now, believe it or not, is Hot Ones on YouTube, right? They're eating the chicken wings. But everybody to a man and woman is surprised that Sean, the host of the show, they're like, wow, that's a great question. I've never been asked that before. That's what you should strive for, not let's see if I can catch this guy in a bind. So I think this is Deebo Samuel getting frustrated. And yeah, maybe like he goes, whatever. But is he the first athlete to hang up on an interviewer? No. Is he going to be the last? No. This is a big nothing burger. He's more focused on getting ready for the season. That's all I'm worried about.
Real quick, Mike, before you go, this comment here, 49ers throwback, plus Deebo already admitted he didn't play well and needs to play better. Why bring up the past? That's my whole take. There are so many things that he could have asked Deebo about. Obviously, he's not a 49ers fan or reporter. He's clearly an Eagles fan, which is fine. But for the first time, I think I'm seeing Deebo Samuel actually be honest and like, yeah, I played like shit. The contract got in the way. Contract dispute got in the way, and I didn't play well. I'm trying to be better. Like Matt said, this is the most we've seen him put into an offseason as far as working out, training, trying to better himself. Any of that could have been asked about, yet it wasn't. Also, for Mike, Kevin McCarthy is a fantastic interviewer when it comes to these movie stars, and he asks questions. I was just watching an interview with him and Cillian Murphy, and the questions he asked Cillian Murphy, I almost never see that man engaged in any sort of conversation. Let's say he doesn't want to be there. Check him out. Mike, what's your take? Because I know you probably disagree with us vehemently.
Yeah. And real quick, shout outs to Itchy95. It was Roy Firestone. Collie up close with Roy Firestone. Great show. And of course, Collie also with the Sports Reporters. Dick Schaap, Mike Lupica, great show. They don't do them like that anymore for sure. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. Now, I want to start this by saying something. I had a realization similar to something that Matt was saying. I haven't seen Deebo this focused in an offseason and probably ever. I'll be completely honest with you. The boxing, the sled pushing, the treadmill, like he is going above and beyond what we've seen. And that's just what we've seen. I can only imagine what behind the scenes is like, right? The failed workouts that he's attempting and how he's pushing himself, right? So I want to go on record right now and say this. I think Deebo Samuel will finish at the top receiver for the 49ers this year, not Brandon Ayuk. Okay, I want to go on record and say that. With that said, I went out last night with a bunch of guys. All right, we had the. I'm not gonna tell you guys what we called it, but it was no wives, no women allowed, and we went to a brewery. Sorry, I'm sitting outside. We went to a brewery. We went out to this wharf and got a lot of seafood and stuff. And unfortunately, there are a bunch of Philly fans out in this group. So they know who I am. They know what I do and all. So they asked me about the comments. And let me just tell you guys, they all think that Deebo made the Niners look like bitches. Okay. And I'm siding with them on this one. I'm no Brad Graham. Okay. But I've interviewed a couple of players as well. Okay. I've interviewed a couple dozen players. Okay. On the record, off the record, on camera, off camera, some phone calls, texts, and things like that. Right. And when you go into these interviews, one of the first things that happens, especially if you do it like licensed and legit, you're going through the agent says, we don't want to discuss X, Y, and Z. Okay. Deebo was booked for a 15-minute segment on this show. I don't know if you're going to play the clip or not, but he was booked for a 15-minute segment. He gave them 5. All right. Now, let me just take a brief time out and say that there has been times where I have had someone ready to go. The show was pulled up and something came up with the team, a late meeting, an emergency meeting, and they had to cancel and they had to leave. And then you get the representative saying, hey, Mike, we're really sorry. We're going to have to reschedule, maybe another time, maybe during the offseason next year. Right. That happens. That could be what happened with Deebo in the scenario, because you heard the woman, I don't know who it was, but she came in and said, hey, sorry, guys, we're going to wrap this up. We got to go now. That's it. Okay. With that said, I don't think that this was bad journalism at all. And I'm going to tell you why. When Deebo was on with the I Am Athlete podcast, that's when he was like, what do you think about the Eagles secondary? Trash. Badberry, trash. Cook doesn't have a second move. This was passion speaking immediately after the loss. And you guys have seen me in passion, right? And then there's sometimes you got to walk back those comments because the passion can get the better hand, right? The passion can get to you. And then sometimes you calm down and you have time to think on it and reflect. And sometimes you got to walk those comments back. Zach, you said Deebo hasn't talked about it since April. When have we heard Deebo speak since then? So it's not like he's been talking and then not talking about it. We haven't heard much from Deebo.
He's got a Twitter account.
Come on.
That's where he said it initially.
Did he tweet any of this stuff about the Eagles? No.
I think he did, actually.
These were things on the mic. You guys can pull up his account while I'm talking. These were things that he said on a microphone on someone's platform. These weren't tweets that went viral and things like that. These weren't he picked the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. He did do that. I think he did that on his Twitter account, but it wasn't critiquing or criticizing and saying that if we had a quarterback we would have won. I don't recall those tweets. So I could be wrong and I'll walk it back. Blame it on the passion. I don't mind walking it back. But getting the opportunity to calm down and then speak, that's needed for players sometimes. Maybe I was too harsh on them. Maybe it was the passion speaking. Instead, Deebo was like, nah, I'm not talking about it. Matt, you said, oh, he asked him a bunch of questions that were essentially the same thing. No, they weren't. Because the question was, you said X, Y, and Z about them. Do you still feel that way? I'm not talking about that. I'm focused on the future. Okay, fine. You have to play the Eagles week 13 this year. Do you think, and you had some very critical things to say about them, those fans are going to boo you. Are you prepared for every time you touch the ball, they're going to, okay, I got to go. Those are not the same questions. Those are not the same questions. And in the off season, what are you supposed to ask players about? Their workout regime? How many push-ups and curls are you doing? No, you're going to ask them about how your season went. We know how your season ended. It ended with the Eagles. Do you think they're on your schedule again this year? You think you guys can be better equipped to play them this year? You don't want to talk about the past? Cool. Let's look forward. He moved forward, and Deebo banged on him. Gotta go. He got out of there.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. With some of these interviews, and I fully believe this with a player. Listen, we might get a guy, and I know, Mike, you've interviewed some players, but there's no way he went into an interview with an Eagles reporter not having a sheet of what was going to be asked him ahead of time. And the fact that he got pissed off about some of this stuff means that this reporter probably took some liberties and asked him about stuff that he didn't want to talk about. And that has to be accounted for, too.
Do you honestly think Deebo took an interview with an Eagles reporter and didn't expect to answer questions about the upcoming Eagles game this season?
Listen, if the Eagles reporter said, we're not going to ask you about last year, we're just going to be talking about this year, right? And then asked about last year before asking about this year, you're setting him up to be in a bad mood for everything else. The first thing he's going to think of is, they told me they weren't going to answer. I told him I didn't want to talk about the last year. We're going to talk about this year. And you could, I mean, there's no way he went on that show without knowing what they were supposed to ask.
There's no way he went on that show and didn't think he was going to have to talk about Week 13 this coming season. There's no way.
If he said, I will do the interview, but don't ask me about the NFC Championship game, then yes, he did. And if the reporter didn't respect that, this is all speculation anyway. But that reporter was 100% looking for bulletin board stuff.
100%.
He was 100% looking for gotcha material.
100%.
Look, the fact that he posted it afterwards and spun it that way tells you all you need to know about it. That's the first thing he did was clip that shit and put it online to get himself views.
His job is to get views. So yes, he did use it that way afterwards. I'm not upset with that.
Why do you think he would be above telling Deebo, I'm not going to ask you about that, and then ask him about it live on the spot to see what happens?
Because with the agent,
you think he's not under the impression, he's not Jim Rome, he's not fucking whoever else, Colin Cowherd. Dude's not going to be on his show every week. He's got one shot. Right?
With the agent or PR person there.
He had one shot. He looked at it and he said, "Fuck it, Mom, spaghetti." And he said, "Hey, let me ask about this NFC Championship game."
With the agent there and present, she could have spoke up and said, "Guys, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that," or "We can't do that." I listen. Forget working with players individually, right? I have been on the 49ers podcast series on their supporters channel, and there's people in the chat with you where if you say something, they type a comment. You got to chill out, or yeah, that's good, keep going. So there's no way
who's to say they didn't though.
Huh?
Who's to say they didn't? And he kept pushing. It wasn't a long time before that thing went sideways. And the fact of the matter is, it's one thing for you as a 49ers content creator. They're going to give you a little more leeway to like, hey, chill out, whatever. This is opposing fans. I guarantee you they knew partially what was going to be asked. I guarantee you they had an outline of where they wanted to go.
Look, all right. Well, let's just say that. All right, I'll side with you. Let's just say, hey, don't ask about the past. We're only going to focus on the future, right? Deebo could have said no comment, and then when he goes on to the future ones, then answer the questions.
Didn't he kind of do that though? He's like, nah, I don't know about that. Like he was just like, whatever. I said what I said.
And then, so then he goes on to the future, and then you dip. That doesn't make any sense. If you're prepared for the questions about the upcoming game.
It's one thing to say, like, do you think things will be different this year? And then be like, are you prepared for the fans to boo the shit out of you while you're here? Like, you're trying to rile him up. You're being a combative. There are ways to communicate that aren't like that. And he was definitely trying to be combative.
The answer for Deebo was an easy answer. Are you prepared for the booing? Anytime we're on the road, we're prepared to be booed.
You're not following me here. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, just based off my instinct, he was not supposed to get asked about that NFC Championship game. I guarantee you he didn't want to talk about it. He probably stated ahead of time. You don't go in hostile territory without having some sort of condition to showing up.
And you don't run your mouth without expecting backlash. Period. As a man, you don't pop off at the mouth and then when you see that person, expect them to not bring it up.
But it's not Podunk Philly asshole reporter's job to do that. That's the fan's job when he shows up there. Podunk Philly man got a.
You don't think the fans wanted that man to ask those questions?
That's fine. That's fine. But then don't expect a different outcome. And we know from Deebo last year. Hold on. But we know what Deebo's like. Deebo's not affable like George Kittle. Deebo's not super media savvy. It happened last up in the club. No, I'm not coming back here. We already know what he is. So anybody that's surprised by it is just being a bitch. No, he's just being who he is.
You guys are giving Deebo a lot of outs, and it's bullshit. I'm telling you guys, it's bull because if the shoe was reversed, let's say it was Micah Parsons.
This is the same motherfucker. This is the same motherfuckers that would come back and be like, "Yeah, Javon Kinlaw, you go get yourself some Grant Cohn. Yeah, fuck Grant Cohn. Yeah, fuck that guy, and give him a leeway." Even though Javon Kinlaw sounded like an asshole, he let Grant Cohn bait him. It's not the same thing. One guy doing it and then pounce on another guy doing it. That's not how that works.
If the Cowboys fans were saying, "Oh, we would have beat them if X, Y, and Z," and one of those, and that same player was interviewed by Matt Mayoko or Grant Cohn or one of us, we're gonna have to bring up the comments that you made about the 49ers fan base.
I will give you one thing. Deebo probably should have known better because I don't think somebody like CeeDee Lamb would have hopped on with a Grant Cohn or a Matt Mayoko and come into enemy territory like that. That part is on Deebo. But if he decided to do a solid for somebody and he had the questions ahead of time and then they went off script, which happens all the time, then it is what it is. I mean, we've seen it with actors, we've seen it with other athletes, we've seen it where we've seen interactions where it's like, "Hey, I told you not to ask me like these questions or whatever," and then they ask them anyway.
So let's play it out. Let's do a hypothetical here. You're the interviewer for Philly, and I'm Deebo, and you have me for 15 minutes. You don't even have to role play each question. What the fuck are you going to ask him about?
But that was the whole point of the entire interview was a setup. Now and honestly, I don't even blame Deebo so much as I blame his management for it. And I agree with Kurt Sampson's comment. Matt Mayoko would never antagonize. This guy antagonized. He did.
All right.
So, I mean, my thing is, his representation made a bad choice to go on that show.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's a big deal that he got angry or whatever. That's just how it is. Oh, he left? All right.
He might have misunderstood my comments here. Or maybe he hit it by mistake.
Oh, all right.
But look, I
didn't
think
mean to run Mike out of the building. My bad.
I think Deebo definitely. My first thought was, why the hell is he here? He is. My first thought was, why the hell is Deebo on Zach Gelb's show to begin with? What's the benefit there?
Damn, Mike, I thought I ran you out of the building. I was like, dang, it ain't got to be like that, bro.
No, I was just acting like Deebo for a second, so you knew what it meant.
I see what you did there, but it is what it is. Listen, overall, I think mistakes were made on both sides, on all sides, but I don't think this is end all be all. I don't even think it's that big a deal. People want to make mountains out of every molehill. So am I surprised that people are overreacting? No. It'll be something else next week.
I mean, look, you brought it up. Javon Kinlaw went as far as over the line as I've ever seen a player go over the line in this new podcasting world, and nobody even talks about it anymore. It's not even like a topic of conversation. So Deebo Samuel simply hanging up on okay, Mike, people talk about it, but it's not like major news still. People don't think of Javon Kinlaw, and the first thing they think of is Grant Cohn. You know what I mean?
I was going to say that shit made ESPN. Like it got blown up. It was huge.
But now a year later, it is, nobody even remembers it. If you were to ask the average person, average 49ers fan, it's probably like, whatever, it happened. So this definitely isn't going to be remembered in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, probably even in a month. It's just off-season fodder talking about Deebo Samuel.
But also you have to remember that Javon Kinlaw, like Zach said, went way over a line that you would expect him to go. And his teammates basically cheered him on. Eric Armstead 100% cheered his ass on.
They basically wanted Grant Cohn banned from.
Right, exactly.
And Deebo's teammates cheered on his comments as well, reposting it, liking it, putting the eyes comments and everything like that when the tweets came out. right?
Right.
And
That's
so
levels.
why I'm on Deebo's side, that it's not a big deal. And other people
and Philly fans are gonna definitely remember this shit when we come to town. They're 100% gonna remember that.
That's
That's
good.
fine. That's
I
fine.
hope they do.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? That's like sportsmanship or
But
rivalries.
it's not just Philly fans, though.
It's within the
You know,
bounds of the
you know
game.
how anything within the 49ers fan base, it's an instant divide. It's an instant divide. And I'm just saying there are people that are shitting on Deebo Samuel that cheered on Javon Kinlaw last year. And that ain't right. Because what Javon Kinlaw did to me was way worse.
Yeah.
That dude essentially threatened Grant Cohn.
Yeah, I mean, literally. Apparently
literally
went over, from according to Grant, went over then and after put his hands on his shoulders and, found him in person at training camp. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. I got to go make dinner. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a fantastic show. Thank you, Sean. What's up,
yeah,
man?
Yeah. Do you have time for one of those little things?
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. A chat
You gotta
pack?
do that. That's gotta be the new hotness. I'm obsessed with that shit every time now.
Let me find a good one.
While he's looking it up, though, I will say that that little clip that did go out, it 100% has Eagle fans riled up. They can't wait to boo every time he touches the ball. Every time, it's a new switch. It was to the point where they were saying, "Oh, you guys are our new rival." I'm like, no, worry about the Cowboys. Worry about Washington that you split with every year. Like, stop it. We're not rivals. I get it. It happened, but no, we're not rivals. We beat y'all every time we play on the regular season the last 3-4 years. You guys got us once, and we didn't have a quarterback. So, like, be grateful, count your blessings. But this is not a rivalry. We are a better team than you guys.
Oh yeah. Listen, let's see what happens in week 13. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens, because I think it's going to be a lot different story.
Okay, I got a good one.
They still hang on that 26 points or whatever after the injury. They're like 26 points in the second half or whatever. And it's like, yeah, man, dude, your time of possession was like, I don't know, in the second half, 29 minutes and 41 seconds. Like, what do you expect, dude?
Yeah, Brock Purdy didn't play defense. Why'd you give up 26 points? All right, chat pack question of the show is, what type of service to others or good deed done for other people do you personally find the most rewarding? Whoever wants to go first, not everyone at once. Are you muting yourself or unmuting yourself?
No, I was taking it off. Mine is kind of cheesy. This is actually something I talked about last night with the guys. My wife and I, around the holidays between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we usually go out somewhere and we'll talk to the waiter or waitress, kind of get their backstory. A lot of times they're students or, parents working a late shift to try to do whatever. And we tip above and beyond, right? And you can always like shed some wisdom with people and things like that. But we kind of like pay it forward, right? We'll go out and have an $80 bill and then we'll write in $300 total. Like we're tipping over $200. You know what I mean? Like, and the reaction on people's faces. I know finances aren't everything. Money's not everything. But when we do that, it's good to see that you can bless somebody in a short amount of time, right? Like, look at the way, just how we reacted to Sean's contribution tonight, right? Like, whoa, like, look at that. Like, what? That's just a comment, right? A quick contribution. I wish there were more personable ways to affect random people, but without sitting down and really having a dialogue with them and delving deep. That is a quick thing that we do. That, and a lot of times if we see someone on the corner that's out in the wintertime, we'll go home and make food for them and then bring the warm food back to them, like give them something hot to eat. Those are the two things that we do, and it's always good. Like, you're not doing it for pats on the back or anything like that, but it's very good to see like people appreciative and helping somebody in need.
Definitely. Matt, do you want to go? You want me to go?
Sure. No, I mean, listen, I it's important for me to give back and really do acts of service and kindness. I made it my job. I work at the hospital. My biggest thing is when you're admitted to the hospital, unless it's for something cool, like, my wife's going to be giving birth here in a few weeks. Like, unless it's something cool like that, that's probably a really bad day for you. whether you broke a bone or you're really sick or, you know, something happened. And one of the things that I like to do is just make sure that the people that I'm taking care of know that they're heard, know that they're appreciated, know that I'm listening to you. I understand that this is probably one of the worst days of your life. I'm going to do what I can do to not make that day any harder. I want to make that day easier, right? Even if it's just a little ray of sunshine in your day, that's what I'm going to try to do. And, you know, I made a career out of it just because I enjoy it so much. So
That's awesome. For me, I might kind of mention it, but I think giving people food, you know, homeless people that I see on the streets, I would definitely give them meals. Used to happen a lot. We'd go to Monterey and we'd be walking out of the pier and going back to our car. It's like a quarter-mile walk to the parking lot. And, you know, there'd always be, unfortunately, somebody there with, you know, homeless, and go and get them some food, bring it to them. Back when I used to smoke weed, I'd give them some weed if they smoked weed, you know, like make their night. If they have a dog, when I used to work at Petco, I would always have the little free 1-pound bags of food that they'd give us, or whenever they did give us the samples, I would always carry them in my trunk. And when I saw a homeless person with a dog, I'd give them the dog food as well. And look, I'm not rich by any imagination, but whatever I can do, I like to try to do, because I would hope if I was in that position, somebody would do the same for me. And that's basically what I try to do the most. But we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode. Thanks for staying up with us on the East Coast. We appreciate all you guys. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow us on Twitter. Our handles are on the screen. Follow RGS Pod for the podcast. We're almost to, I think, 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 followers. Excuse me. I forget where we're at, but thank you for tuning in. Mike, go ahead. Want to shout anything out? Thanks for tuning in, brother.
No, man, if you guys are watching the Nothing But Niners channel, please make sure you guys subscribe, because during the regular season, we are not going to be doing the simulcast on Nothing But Niners. It's going to be only here on 49ers Hive. I will still continue to do shows with those guys throughout the regular season, so make sure you subscribe to their channel as well.
Appreciate it. Matt, you want to carry us out?
absolutely. Thank you guys as always for joining us. Sean, I mean, again, like Mike said, just even that, blown away. You know, we're going to turn that into something that we can give back to the fan base too. We love having you guys here and your support. We're getting ready. I mean, we're 9 days away from the opening of training camp, and then football's back on us. My baseball season is just about shot because my team can't win anything. So I'm looking forward to football season coming up a little earlier. So thank you as always for joining us, Mike. We love having you here. You know, I mean, you hold it down every time you come on, man, and you make us better as hosts. So Zach, you're the man as always. We couldn't do this without the fans and the people here, though. So with that being said, thank you as always for joining us. We love having you guys here. We want to give you the best content possible. So until next time, go Niners.